principles of marketing. How's everybody? Good? All right. So we're going to once again start out with our critical thinking challenge. So I want you to get into your groups. But before you all get into your groups and start moving around, I also want you to do something else in addition to answering the critical thinking question for the day and writing it down. Since you've had some time to get to know each other, if you want to switch groups, this might be a good time to switch groups. Also start coming up with a group name so that you have a group identity to tell us what your group name is going to be for the group project. So come up with a group name, something that is clever, that sells yourself and your group to your colleagues in here, that identifies you as supermarketers or whatever. And today's question is, or today's questions are, is an understanding of history important for marketing? Why or why not? And then two, the second question is, what are the three most important issues in marketing today? And of course, why? All right? So do that. And then what we're going to do is, after you've answered these questions, we're going to answer the first question with you all sitting out there just telling me what your group answers are. And then the second question, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have each group send someone up to write on the board your group name and three answers to what are the most important issues in marketing today. So you have 10 minutes to do that, and we'll come back and we'll look at your answers. What you want. I'm going to go from this side to over there. Each group is going to go then through the middle section and then down front through this section. Each group is going to stand up. I want you to tell me what your group name is, why you've chosen that as your group name. And then I want you to answer the first question and tell me what your group's answer is as to whether or not history is important in marketing and why or why not. So you can make a good argument either way, I think. So let's start with the group back there in the corner. I want your spokesperson to stand up, tell us what your group name is, why did you choose the group name, try to sell us on the brilliance of your name, and then answer the question. Go ahead. Okay, speak up, project.
Okay, our group name is Tai Chi, which is like another phrase for yin yang.
Okay.
Alright, we said history, it's important because it is always depicting the future, and in marketing you are trying to get buyers in the future. Also, knowing the history allows you to see the evolution of marketing and help you be effective.
Okay, very good answer. All right. The next group along the back row.
We are the coffee and cream team. We have 4 people in our group. 2 of us are brown, the other 2 are white.
Okay. I want you, just so that, you're the ones who chose that name. Okay.
And for the first question, we put yes, it is important both the past, the future, and the present, because it shows, like you were saying, the evolution of marketing. Everything is built off of one another. And whenever you're looking at marketing as a whole, you want to see like the progress of it, and documents and charts will always show you like how everything kind of progressed gradually. And the second question, we already answered the second question.
Nope, we're gonna, the second question is, what are the 3 most important issues in marketing? I'm gonna have you have somebody come down to the board and write your name of your group on the board, along with your 3 answers. All right, the next group.
Yes, we are the markers because we all wrote as markers.
Okay?
So we figured that was pretty easy and iconic. So you can always know who we are because we're markers.
Okay.
So we thought that the knowledge of history is very important to marketing. It tells you not only you have the history of marketing, it kind of helps you show the what the best trends are and that kind of stuff. But it also lets you know, if you know the history of cultures and that kind of place, what marketing strategies will be successful there and which ones will not because of certain things in the history. So I think it's pretty important for that kind of stuff.
Okay. All right, so we've got 3 votes for history is important to marketing, right? Okay. Let's see, this group over here. Yeah.
We're the ACC, the American Canadian Connection, because some of us are American and some of us are Canadian. And we said yes to be able to analyze past marketing trends, to aid successful marketing techniques, and to be able to understand what has been successful in the past to use it as advantage in our future.
Okay, so we've got 4 votes for yes, is that right? All right. I like your team name. Where's the next group? Okay. Hold on, we're going to go right there and then you'll be next.
Our group name is Prestige Worldwide. Prestigious, not just locally, but worldwide. We think that understanding that history is important, just like what everyone else said. We kind of figure out what's failed, what's succeeded, what we can learn from the past, and go off of that.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Our group name is Light Punch, because unlike regular punch, ours got a little kick to it. And yes, we believe history is important because it usually repeats itself, and you can move forward better when you learn from the past experiences, and the past allows us to better understand the future, and it can help you understand and predict trends and statistics for the future to better adapt for marketing needs.
Okay. All right. Good answer.
We are the market vendors, the marketing vendors.
Okay.
So we said yes. Understanding historic scientific trial and error, it will produce positive results in the art market.
Okay. All right. Good answer.
We are the money makers because that's what we aspire to be one day, as well as all of you guys, I'm sure. Our number 1, we said yes, history is important because it does repeat itself and we can see what concepts in marketing have worked so far and what works on different age groups and see that.
Okay. Very good. Let's see. This group here.
Hello, we're the creative concepts. Sheridan actually just whispered it over to me, so we just came up with it. We said history is important to marketing because we can learn from our failures and past economic mistakes.
Okay. Good answer. This group in here.
So we're the Patriots because we're all proud American citizens, and it's good to have an understanding of your history so that the same mistakes are not repeated again, and so you can make a projection of what you want for the future. And then the second one we said the demographic is very important. Who you're
Just hold on that one. We'll get you to come up to the board for that. All right.
We're the small town connection because we're all from small towns. We put yes, history is important because it's important to know your company's background. Also, it's necessary to learn from other successes and mistakes.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Is there a group in here? Okay.
There's 6 of us, we are the 6 marketeers. We said, kind of broke the record, we said it's important to know history because of trends that work in the past and work in the future. We also said they're like a nostalgic effect in marketing. You see something that kind of makes you think of the good old days.
Okay. All right. This Okay, all right.
We're Generation X because that's the generation that most of our student body grew up in. And it is important to have an understanding of history because we can always look to the past to see which mistakes were made and how we can improve on those.
Okay, all right.
There's 6 of us, we are the bow tie boys, because, well, if you like bow ties, it's hopefully it's going to affect your grade.
Okay. Sucking up is always good.
Bow ties are cool.
Yay.
History is important in marketing because you can see what has and hasn't been successful. You can also forecast your future, what has been your past, and like everybody else does in the street, sometimes it's future.
Okay, very good.
Our team name is the A-Team because we all want A's.
So you're projecting?
Yeah.
All right.
Hopeful, I think hopeful.
We put yes because we need to understand previous failures and certain marketing aspects, and also if a certain area in the world has a history to favor one type of product or another, you need to know that in case you want to introduce something new.
Okay. All right. Very good. So nobody came up with that history is not important to marketing. The historian, William Durant, oddly enough, a guy who's a historian, argues that the only lessons of history are that people don't learn the lessons of history. That we continue to point out and do the same things over and over and over again, right? Which has led to centuries of warfare over the same things, right? So he says that the only lesson of history is that nobody ever learns the lessons of history. And in business, what we see is we see a lot of people making the same mistakes, right? The text tells you in this chapter that a goodly number of businesses fail. And maybe it's because they don't understand history or things like that. Although other people would argue that modern techniques and modern research are more important in understanding than maybe historical trends are, particularly in this world today, which leads us to the second question. So I want you all to come up, put like a line down the board, and write your 3 names. Put your name at the top of it. Start over here. The first one will be number 1, 2, 3. Put your name next to the number, and let's come up with the 3 things that you think are the most important things in history, and then I'll tell you how these 2 questions sort of tie together. So send somebody up to the board, and let's look at those 3 things that you think are the most important things. Having read chapter 1, and hopefully started moving. Maybe more important things. Moving over here.
Like what?
All right. So when I've done this exercise in the past, what I look for is I ask the students to see if there are patterns that emerge from your answers, from your group answers. And are there sort of some patterns that seem to emerge as you look at these boards up here in terms of things that are important to marketing? What's one of the patterns that anybody sees emerging? Yes?
Ethics.
Ethics. Ethics is enormously important in an age in which we are so vulnerable as consumers to the products that are marketed to us. Ethics is a huge concern. How many of you turn on the television every day and see a lawsuit against a drug company for a drug that's been manufactured? You're enormously vulnerable, right? So ethics is an enormously important issue. What other pattern do you see emerging? Yeah.
Internet.
Internet. Yeah, technology is a huge one, right? And this is one of the reasons that some people argue, at least in academic circles, and I've had this debate with friends, that fundamentally, because the world has changed in terms of technology, that history is less important than it used to be, maybe, right? Because technology is so incredibly powerful compared to even 50 years ago, right? That it's radically changed the marketing landscape. I don't know that that's true, but yeah, we see the internet. What else do you see emerging from this?
Being able to adapt.
Adapt. Absolutely, being able to adapt. Again, this goes to that argument that maybe history is less important. In the past, how quickly did things change? Slowly, right? If we go back in time, beginning with recorded history, right? In the first 7 centuries of recorded history, knowledge didn't double. How quickly does knowledge double now? The sum total of what was known didn't double. How quickly does knowledge double now? Knowledge doubles every year. Now maybe what we know is more and more about less and less. Right? But the sum total of human knowledge, think about how quickly computing power has changed. What else do you see emerging?
Communication.
Communication. Absolutely. Communication is one of the big things. and how do we communicate effectively, right? And this is, again, an area where it's transforming the way we sell products. Because how are we communicating? In the past, how did people communicate? Face to face. How are we selling and communicating now?
Post it online.
Post it online. How many of you actually talk on a telephone anymore? You do. You actually talk on your cell phones. How many of you don't really talk on your cell phones? You try to get off the phone as quickly as you can. And you want people to do what? Text. Text it to you. Yeah. All right. Very good. We're done with the group, so if you want to... All right. So we have sort of these three themes emerging that issues in marketing are involved: technology, communication, and ethics. So one of the things that I saw the other day and that I started thinking about was this. And I want to show this to you. It is estimated by some, I was listening to an NPR program the other day as I was driving to work, and it's estimated, according to one of the scholars that was talking on NPR on this program, that 50% of the jobs that are in existence today will be gone in 10 years as a result of technology. And I thought that was a stupid statistic. And I was perfectly willing to, I was going through the mental argument in my mind against this idea that 50% of the jobs would be gone in the next 10 years. 50% of the jobs that we have today would be gone in the next 10 years, and they would be replaced by technology. And then I walked into Sam's that day. I was listening to this program on my way to get the supplies for my business. I own a company in Guthrie, and so I was going to do the weekly shopping for that business. And I walked into Sam's, and this is the first thing I saw. How many of you have a Sam's membership? Quite a few of you. You used to be able to go to Sam's, and it was great fun. You could actually eat for free, right? You could have, it was just a veritable smorgasbord of samples that you could try, right? Look at what Sam's is doing now to eliminate those positions. This is a free-osk. You walk up, you scan your Sam's card, and it gives you your sample. What has this done? It's what? It's taken the human out of the aspect. And what's good about that, or maybe bad about that? It's cheaper, right? We're not having to pay. Once you buy the hardware, you've got it. What else? So you're not paying its salary. You're not paying benefits. What else?
Electricity.
What?
You gotta pay for the electricity.
You have to pay for electricity. That's a de minimis amount for this machine compared to paying somebody's salary and benefits. Yeah.
It doesn't call in sick.
It doesn't call in sick. And how many of you used to go to Sam's and try to eat, your lunch based on the samples? You can pick up more than one, and they can't. What does this do? Regulates it, absolutely, right? You swipe your card right here in the scanner, and it dispenses one sample. And you can only get one sample with one Sam's card. Is that incredible? Now think about the history of marketing. Things that really are not that long ago have changed radically. So if we look at sort of the history and philosophy of marketing thought, what we see some eras emerging, all right? So if we look at marketing as a historical thing, obviously from the beginnings of civilization, people have engaged in marketing, right? But the academic discipline of marketing is a relatively new phenomenon. Studying it as a field separate and distinct from other fields that we taught at the academy is a relatively new phenomenon. And marketing has emerged from two disciplines, both of which I make merciless fun of. The two foundational disciplines of marketing are economics, the so-called dismal science, and psychology. Right? Those are the two foundational disciplines of the discipline. Now, if we look at the marketing studies, marketing departments began to emerge at the beginning of the 20th century. And they started first, Harvard, of course, claims to be the first in almost everything. I think the first official department of marketing did start in Harvard in the United States. But it also started at the agricultural schools. The University of Wisconsin was one of the first to have a marketing department. And these schools really grew out of agricultural economics and some studies that ag econ people were concerned with, particularly in terms of how we get products to consumers. And that first definition that we talked about last week focuses on this transportation idea, this idea of moving products from the producer to the consumer, right? And we said that that definition was not really going to work, because we're going to recognize that marketing goes on in a lot of different contexts, and it's not just about business. We also use social marketing, societal marketing. And so we've transformed the definition of marketing to be more inclusive and broader. And there is still a debate within the AMA as to what the definition of marketing should be. What we see in these early eras of marketing is what we might call a production philosophy of marketing. And this seems like ancient history in a day in which technology is so advanced that I can sit here and I can control that camera with my iPhone. Right? If we went back to the beginning of the 20th century, what were people doing? Did they have an iPhone? I know you all can't fathom life without this device attached to your hand. Can you? So the production era and the production philosophy might be summed up by a movie and a phrase from that movie called The Field of Dreams. And what do you think that phrase is? Anybody got an idea? How many of you have seen the movie Field of Dreams? Okay, what's it about?
Baseball.
It's about baseball, right? And the main character in the movie does what? He builds a baseball diamond, right? And the saying is what? If you build it, they will come. Right? That's the production era and the production philosophy. All we have to do is we need to produce something and people will buy it. And that was true from about 1900 until about 1920. Why was that? Why would, if you just produced something, would people buy it?
You're probably the only person producing it.
You may be the only person producing it. What?
Weren't many options.
Weren't many options. The options were very limited, right? What else?
It's probably a necessity at that time. I mean, the stuff that there was such a limited amount of things being made that it was probably a necessity to your life that you had to have.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that was marketed was a necessity. What we've moved beyond in the postmodern era is just focusing on necessities and now focusing on wants, right? Not just needs, but wants. But yes, these are all things that were very important in that production era. Things were much simpler. Most people at the beginning of the 20th century lived where? Did they live in urban cities? They lived on farms, right? And so if you had limited stuff, anything that was produced might be attractive. Anything that you didn't have to make yourself might be attractive, and you might accept less than the ideal because you didn't have a lot of choices. The modern moving assembly line was largely developed by Henry Ford, right? And what was the first automobile that was produced by Ford Motor Company? The Model T, right? The Model T was the first mass-produced car. Not the first automobile. There were cars out there, but they were largely luxury items, right? You could get the Model T in any color you wanted so long as that color was black. You could have any color you desired as long as that color was black. How many of you would settle for a black car today? A lot of you. A lot of you obviously are not from Oklahoma or have not experienced the Oklahoma weather in the last few days because black is hot, isn't it? Particularly in Oklahoma during the summer months. Black is really hot. How many of you, well, a lot of you'd settle for black cars, but most people want something else, right? I have a white car. Why? Reflects heat in Oklahoma. That's why I have a white car. It also looks cleaner with our Oklahoma red dirt than a black car does. Black cars, the minute you drive them anywhere, that red dirt that we have here just sticks to it everywhere. And you can't maintain it. But you can have any color that you want. You would settle for that option because it was much better than the alternative at the time. And what was the alternative at the time? The horse, right? And horses are remarkably unreliable creatures. I say this as somebody who raises horses. I love them, but compared to my Ford F-150, they're temperamental, they have a mind of their own, they may not want to go, they could die. That's bad, right? You're sitting outside in the sun, no air conditioning. The Model T looks pretty good. Now, when we talk about these eras and these philosophies, remember that it's not a monolith. There are still companies that use this kind of production mentality today. They are product-driven companies. Can you think of a major company today that you think still uses, or until recently still used, a production philosophy? What about Apple? Under Steve Jobs. It's changed some. Under Steve Jobs, did Apple engage in marketing research? No. Steve Jobs' attitude was what? I'll build it and you'll buy it. And he was largely right. Right? You don't know what you want. I'm going to tell you what you want. Right? So we even see that production philosophy with some people even today. Once we become largely industrialized, we move into what's called the sales era. Now we have more choices. We have more companies entering the marketplace. It's not just Ford producing the Model T. We also have other companies that are now mass producing goods and services. And so we get what's called the selling era, or the sales philosophy. This idea that what we need to do is we need to get people out there to sell it. It's no longer good enough to just say, if we build it, they will come and they will buy it. We're going to have to focus on selling. And during the sales era, we focused on increasing sales and getting out there, getting to the consumer, and making those connections so that we could sell our product and then move on to the next sale. Right? Why is that concept limiting?
Doesn't guarantee maintaining your customers.
Yeah, it doesn't guarantee maintaining your customers. As a result of even more increased competition, beginning in the 1950s, we get what's called the marketing era, or the marketing concept, which puts marketing at the beginning rather than the end of the process. And it really is one of the reasons why we now say marketing is the only fully integrated function of the firm, as we understand it, right? This is something that will come tripping off your tongue by the end of the semester. Marketing is the only fully integrated function of the firm. You really cannot run a business without it. How many of you are my accounting majors? Hopefully you'll change by the end of the semester. You'll see the light. Hallelujah. It will be like Saul on the road to Damascus. Right? Can you run a business without knowing anything about the GAAP? What is the GAAP?
General accepted accounting.
Right. Can you run a business without knowing anything about it? Yeah, you can. Did you have to know that debits are on the left and credits are on the right to run a business? No, don't need to know that. Not that it's unimportant, right? There's reasons that we have that, I'm sure. Can't think of them off the top of my head. But you do need marketing, right? Can I run my own business? Can you think of something that I could do that would not involve me having to have finance, accounting, management, and still be profitable? I can. What did I tell you all that I am? I'm a lawyer, right? I can practice law by just simply telling people I'm a lawyer. One of my favorite lawyers. He's a guy who's now dead. He used to practice law from the shoe shine stand at the Oklahoma County Courthouse. He was so cheap that his telephone was the payphone next to the shoe shine stand. He wouldn't even pay for telephone service. He just hung out there and got drunks to give him business. That was his primary thing, was he represented criminal lawyers, criminal defendants in DUI cases. Amazing thing about drunks is they're highly social. And they would tell all their friends through word of mouth. But he still had to market himself, right? He still had to have a product out there to sell, his legal services. But as far as I could tell, he didn't know very much about accounting. He took cash. It was a cash and carry business. Didn't require a whole lot of finance. And he didn't manage anybody. You know? But you still had to have marketing, because you still had to have that service, right? So the sales era, we focus on selling. Then we finally get to the marketing era, where we start putting the consumer first. And now we've moved even beyond that into what some of us believe is an era of relationship marketing and value co-creation. Engaging the consumer and absolutely making them a part of our marketing team. So that is the current marketing theory that is in prominence, is this idea of value co-creation. And let me show you an example of how value co-creation works and what we're doing now. We are now engaging in this new era, we're engaging in mass customization. Instead of just mass production, we're now engaging in mass customization. This is an example of mass customization. Forever and ever and ever, M&Ms were little chocolate candy with a hard shell. And what's the motto of M&Ms? Melts in your mouth, not in your hands. That was their big selling technique. They came in a cellophane package that was, something like 4 ounces, brown, same colors, same packaging. What do we do with M&Ms now? What can you do? This is value co-creation. You can customize your M&Ms. You can get your own color. You can put your creepy picture on your M&Ms for your wedding day. It's no longer just a cellophane package. You can get M&Ms in a tin. You can get M&Ms in a bubblegum machine. You can get M&Ms with your message on it. Mass customization. It's a really interesting concept in marketing. Well, that's it for the lecture today. If you want, there's an opportunity for extra credit to do this assessment exercise. I'll hand that out.